Welcome again to another edition of the Amazon and Afriprenuer interview series from the stable of Agbari Multimedia Company, where we showcase and celebrate Amazons and Afripreneurs in the African continent. Our mission, like I always say every time, is to inspire you into greatness, which is why we celebrate the winning Amazons and Afripreneurs in Africa. You can see that I'm super excited today. Well, I have a mentor, a big brother, and an Afripreneur of repute today joining me on the show. Well, if you have any questions on our past episodes or today's episodes, kindly drop them in the comment section and we'll attend to them and get back to you. Today, like I said, I'm here with someone who is like a big brother, but first, let's focus on his career. He's someone who has distinguished himself in the medical world. And before we bring him on, like we do, before we bring him on, let me quickly go and share with you his bio.
Aziz Butali is a professor at the College of Dentistry, University of Iowa. He graduated as a dentist from the College of Medicine, University of Lagos in 2000 and obtained his PhD in genetics epidemiology in 2010 before proceeding for his postdoctoral training in craniofacial genetics at the University of Iowa. His lab discovered CTNNA2 and SULT2A as cleft palate candidate genes. He is a reviewer for 25 international peer-reviewed journals: NIH Genetics of Human Disease Study Section, National Science Foundation of Poland, Swiss National Science Foundation, Wellcome Trust, and South Africa's National Research Foundation (NRF). Professor Butali has received many national and international awards. These awards include being named as a recipient of the Dental Scientist Career Development Award K99R00 by the NIDCR-NIH in 2012, and the first dentist to receive the Harold Amos Scholar Award, which was exclusively for medical doctors for 25 years. He is a co-founder of Help My Pikin, a non-profit organization that helps to prevent infant and neonatal mortality in Nigeria. He is also the founder of the Aziz Butali Foundation that supports widows and orphans in Nigeria. He is a member of the Smile Train Research and Innovations Advisory Council, member nominating committee of the American Society of Human Genetics, sits on the board of Suicide Research and Prevention in Nigeria, SURPIN, and Restore Foundation for Child Sight in Nigeria. Professor Butali is a member of the American Association for Dental Research, International Association for Dental Research, American Society for Human Genetics, American Academy of Science, and the American Cleft Palate Association. He is also a fellow of the International College of Dentists. He is very passionate about entrepreneurship. He is currently supporting several startups in agro, media, and energy, as well as small businesses in Nigeria. Finally, he is happily married with 3 children and enjoys reading, playing football, and table tennis.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.
Did you notice I wandered off while listening to your bio?
Why?
Very intimidating, very inspiring one. Because I sort of wandered off and, I started assessing where I am and what I'd like to be remembered for. So I'm excited, super excited. And if I delve into my native language and back into English, please don't bother. This is my big brother in the house today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Nimat, for having me. It's my pleasure to be here and to share the little stuff I have with the world and with our audience as well. Thank you.
Thank you. It's about time because we've kept the best for today. And I would just like to say, in that bio that you listened to, did we miss out anything? Is there anything else about Professor Butali that we have not captured in that bio?
Yeah, I guess again, I'm trying to be as modest as I can, but I have spent a lot of my time mentoring people. I love building capacity, and that wasn't captured there. and not just capacity in my science or in my profession as a dentist or in my research career as a human geneticist, but even in business, in career development, and all sorts of human development. I just kind of loved it. As soon as I hit my professorship, I asked myself, what's the next challenge? And I decided that I was going to be mentoring the next generation and also those that would like to work with me, because I look at mentoring as a push and pull. If you push me, I pull you or something. And I've enjoyed doing
Yes.
that. And I think I've been pretty successful. My mentees are all over the world and blazing the trail as well. So that wasn't captured there, and I just
Let me
wanted to
count
share that.
myself as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to
Don't
share that.
worry. I'm going to pull out every of those details in our conversation today. But let me count myself as one of you. And I just wanted to, to talk about you being a researcher. I was this little when I remembered you were a dentist, but when I read about you today, you're a researcher, you're an entrepreneur, you're everywhere. Let's just talk about being a researcher and entrepreneur. How have you been able to achieve combining both? How have you been able to, to balance this with life? A lot of people would either be a researcher or an entrepreneur because both are very demanding fields. How have you been able to do both?
Oh, thank you very much for that question. So I guess so. Being a researcher or a scientist requires a lot of critical thinking. Being an entrepreneur is the same as well. So for the two of them, you have to have the end in sight. If you know where you're going, what you now need to do is how do you get there? So for the research I do, I have a question and I have an outcome that I desire. It's called expected outcome. And I then ask myself, what if it does not work? Then you have what is called an alternative outcome. Those two. As an entrepreneur, you're trying to solve a problem, right? And that problem is your outcome. So if you solve the problem, you can make an income from that. So again, you have the end in sight. You then ask yourself, how do you get there? In both processes, you cannot do it alone, but you are going to be the visionary, but you need people to work with you. So what has really helped me to I'm able to combine both of them is I have trusted people to help me carry out the process. I have the outcome in mind, so I guide them. Okay. And I lead. I don't just delegate, I also lead. And people trust me to follow because previous outcomes have shown that I know what I'm doing. So combining the two of them was not a big deal. It just requires having the end goal in sight. And again, it's just me, right? I'm not in 10 places. But my research is also like an entrepreneurial process. I look at my research as an entrepreneurial process because my research needs to be funded. I need to be productive, which in terms of carrying out the work, publishing the work, and also sharing my discoveries. So it's like I've been an entrepreneur. You need to develop the product or the idea, take it to the market and sell it, right? So it's the same process.
Yes.
So there's an underlying process behind the two of them that tells me that if you work towards this outcome, you will achieve the desired results. So again, the outcome in mind, the process is what you tweak. The process is not cast in stone, it's dynamic. But if you have the vision,
Can
you
change.
pay the cost and until you get to the outcome. So that's how I've been able to combine the two of them. So I just try to keep it
What you
simple.
have just said,
Yeah.
what you have just said might sound like motivational speech. So I would like, I'm going to scatter it kwata now because a lot of people listening will think, oh, just stay the process, visualize the outcome, stay, stay the cause and all of that. But you just talked about you being in one place and leading a lot of people from other places. So the most difficult thing I have noticed in life being a businesswoman myself is relying on people. How do you get these people to buy into that vision, own it, and make that total outcome that you visualize a reality? We see here people work in places they don't take ownership of, they don't even care. It's like there's a local palace for it. Owala Rock, with that kind of thing. So
Agota, Agota.
whether you lose Ogata Ogata, so it's Oga's vision, but mine is about my earnings. So how do you bring your those people you've delegated certain duties to own into that vision, because that's the most important thing for an entrepreneur from my side. That's one. Then, okay, let me let you finish with that one before we come back to,
Okay.
bringing it to
So
research.
the thing is, you're taking a risk when you do anything to do with other people because they don't share 100% what you share. But at the same time, why did you get them to work for you? You must have seen something in them. So what I try to do is I try to see my employees as my mentees. I try to mentor them where I think they're lacking. And where I think they have strength, I try to take advantage. I've been very lucky to be able to detect how the strength of people and their weaknesses, where I hammer on the strength so that they can keep producing, and I work with them on on their weaknesses. And sometimes I've failed. Let me be honest with you. It's not like on 10 over 10. No. But each time I fail, I learn. And next time I engage, I do better. I've had mentees or employees that have done something that is, either taking my money away or I lost stuff. But that has not made me lose interest in people and in the outcomes I desire to achieve. I have stayed the course with employees or with students or with colleagues and all that. So the strategy is simple. Um, as I said, you are the visionary. If you cannot share that vision with them and let them see where you're going and let them see themselves as part of the process, you are not likely to get the results. Things might go down south, but not all the time. If you have 5 of them, maybe 2 of them can understand, then those 2 will become your model. You keep working with them. You don't just give up on everybody. Now, and I use that for everything I do, for my non-profit, for if I put my money into people's endeavor just to help them out, or even my science. I've done the same. There is always an outcome in mind. So I work with my students as if they own the project. Because again, let me use the research as an example. The students work on those projects to have an outcome, but it's tied to their getting a degree as well. And that was how I was trained. So the success and failure of the project I did as PhD was dependent on me getting, my PhD was dependent on the success of that project. You understand? So, and that's a model I learned from 2006 up until 2009 when I finished my PhD. And I quickly learned that from where I did my PhD, that it is your responsibility to deliver, but it is your mentor's responsibility to guide you. So from day one, you have that responsibility. It's on your shoulders. So I use the same strategy for all other endeavors, whether I'm dealing with an employee or I'm dealing with, so it's the same. So once you let them understand that they are responsible for this part of an outcome, and you don't leave them, you don't just drop it on their shoulders, you work with them. Some of them will get it, and you guys will go to the end of the line. Some of them would not. Let's don't disturb ourselves. But those that get it, you keep working with them. Those that don't, you give them time. And if really they don't want to catch up, then you let them go. Don't make an emotional decision. Let them go because they might not be a good fit and they might be pulling you back. And I've never made the mistake of keeping people when really they are not part of it. I let them go. And I let them go because it's in their own interest. When you don't enjoy what you're doing, you cannot give your best. You don't give what you don't have, right? So I let them go. But some of them, I give them time. Well, honestly, I don't make any emotional decisions when it comes to outcome that the person needs to pull his weight. I give a lot of time with it. But again, coming back to that first thing, where are we going? If you understand that with me, we have a good time. So I don't know if I've answered your question. I'm
You
telling you,
have,
I'm telling you
you
exactly
have.
what I've done. So I'm kind of narrating an experience, not an idea, not an imagination. This is an experience. This is what I've done. So
No, I love that. What your examples are personal. So that's exactly what the show is about. Really, it's about your journey, sharing the process. Most people like to share winning stories and examples without learning the entire journey. And when you miss out on that, you really have not learned anything. Just sitting here now, you've helped me because you don't fail to mentor anyway. You've helped me find closure on the particular staff I had to let go. Because some form of attachment had started, but I can't deal with fraud and disrespect. And I kept thinking, when would this person own into this vision? And I had to do the tough job of letting go. So just yesterday, I was having a sort of doubt about the thing, but I've reached that conclusion just talking to you now, and I think that's the most important part of the journey because of the conversations, helping people find solutions that they are dealing with while listening to the interview. So I'm hoping that anybody else listening to this interview would learn this. My next question, sir, because I'm going to come back. I have known you sticking to excellence all your life, all my life for the benefit of the period I knew you. And I wonder how you feel about the things happening today. Just this week, we're dealing with a super cup, supposedly a super cup who is supposed to be our excellence in everything. I'm finding out he's always been in fraud, he's always negotiated with criminals, he's even into drugs, he deals with the underworld and takes advantage of that. In most parts of Africa and around the world, you see this happening. People lowering standards. There's a new artist in town. He's promoting drug and fraud online, but yet his slogan is on everybody's lips. You have demonstrated excellence as a researcher. You have several awards to show for it, national and international. You have growth businesses that you. How would you say will bring back excellence into daily lives and normalize it in African, in our daily lives as Africans again? How can we achieve that again? Or are you people really old school?
Well, I don't count myself as old school. I'm very contemporary as much as contemporary. But I think the problem is everybody should take the blame. The person you mentioned on the Super Cup, was he working alone? He was working. So we're not building systems, we're building people. And when you build people, when people fail, everything fails. But when you build system, it checks itself. The West have done this very well. They're not 100% perfect, but there's a system in place. For my research supplies, I don't even see the money. I only approve online. It goes through a routing process, goes to the auditors. The supplier supplies, then they confirm the supply, and then they credit the supplier. So money does not touch anybody's hand. That's the system. The same thing. I get grants from funding agencies. I don't the only thing that comes to my account is my salary and my benefits. So that's a system. They built that system. Can't we do the same in Nigeria? We can, and we've done it before, but somehow we lost it because everybody wants to be rich, but forgetting that if you're rich and your neighbor is poor, you cannot sleep. Now we are not safe because we have created a society where everybody looks at that next man as being rich. Everybody wants to be rich. Every kid wants to be as rich as they want to spend money and all that. But the thing is, nobody has told them that this is the path to getting wealth. It requires some hard work, some networking, some mentoring, some peer mentoring. It requires you to build yourself. This is where you have value. Then when you have value, money will follow value. Value could be your being an expert in what you do, having an education where someone will see you and want to hire you. Value could be learning a trade. You don't have to be a graduate, but learning a trade that will provide service to others and they pay you for it. Where is that value? We've lost it. People don't know that you make money from value. They just think you make money. So I think let's go back to how can we build a system where all of us are responsible for the outcome of that system. And this goes to the government and the people and those in power and everything. We're all responsible. I'm not going to exonerate any of us. We're all responsible. But can we salvage the situation? I'll tell you yes. And yes, in the sense that we should invest more in the university system that will help conduct research to critically appraise the current system. It's called the gown informing the town. We think all these things happen, everybody will shout, but nobody is sitting down to appraise. There's a sociologist that should be involved. There's a psychologist that should be involved. They should collect data. There are political economics that should be involved. There are dentists, there are scientists that should be involved. Everybody. So, and how do they get involved? They need to be funded to do research to be able to inform the town on where those problems are, then bring solutions. America is where it is today because they fund research, they fund scientists for us to think and bring solutions to the country. Everything the defense does in America comes through the university. Everything they do for drugs, vaccines that we have for COVID comes through the university. So the problem we have in Nigeria is we've neglected that path that could have helped us to do what is called self-appraisal. They will inform us of the problem and then put fast solutions. We've neglected that path. ASU is on strike already. And we want the country to change, where we're putting our academics in limbo. We're putting our kids, the education of our kids in limbo. Even now, before university, parents should also take responsibility. Back in the day, you dare not do something wrong because your father or your mother will not be happy with you. Now, there are women, there are men that have associations of Yahoo mothers and fathers. I don't know if you're aware of that. So, what are they doing? They're promoting those vices. And we're talking about society. When the home is celebrating that young boy that came back with some money without asking the boy. So I think we should all take responsibility, sit down and ask ourselves, and those established institutions, the reason why I'm angry on the university is it's structured. The home is where everything should start from. Then once the home is trying their best, then that structured environment, the university, will carry out rigorous research to identify those problems, bring out solutions, then we implement, sincerely implementing, not the one they bring out the white paper and everybody goes to bed. I think we're not really doing a self-service. We don't even need to do it at the macro level, the federal government level. We can even do it at the local government level. Commission a few researchers, tell me what's going on in my environment. And I'll tell you, so I get involved in PTO here. I was on the PTO board for 11 years. I'm as busy as I was, and I learned everything. That PTO, that you think is PTO, was helping to manage families, expectations from the family for the kid. Then they take those expectations to the board, the school board takes it to the council takes it to the state to the federal. I followed everything. I was learning what were these people doing right. And every kid is an important kid in the environment. So we need to go back to that. And parents should start going back to attending PTO meetings. Back in the day, you will learn so much about your child at PTO meetings if you are not aware that your child has a certain...
What we call PTA here.
Yeah, PTA.
That's what we call PTA here.
Yeah, so those things are important, but people think it's just a meeting. No, it helps you to understand how you can help your child at home as a parent. And then as a parent, if your child is not meeting those expectations, when you get to PTA, you learn some. So it's a relationship between teachers and parents, and in the interest of who? The child. We don't do that anymore. People don't even attend anymore. You go to PTA meetings, 3-5 family.